Every single Nazi spy sent to Britain was caught. Every single one. Except maybe, just maybe one. And he took his secret to the grave. World War II wasn't just fought with bullets and bombs. It was fought with lies, deception, double agents playing both sides while gambling with their lives. Today we're diving into the Shadow War. The operation so classified, some details are still debated by historians today. The tricks that fooled Hitler himself, the biological attack that could have changed everything, and the spy who may have been so good. We still don't know if he existed. This is the hidden history of World War II. Picture this. You're a German spy. You've trained for months. You parachute into British farmland in the dead of night, heart pounding, ready to serve the fatherland. You're arrested within hours. Welcome to the double-cross system. MI5's masterpiece of counter-espionage so effective, it turned every captured agent into a British weapon. The British didn't just imprison these spies, they flipped them, offered them a choice, execution or become a double agent. Most chose to live, and live they did, some quite comfortably, running fake spy networks, sending radio transmissions back to Berlin, earning German medals for services rendered while sitting in London safe houses. But here's where it gets interesting. After the war, when historians dug through the archives, they found something chilling. Something that doesn't quite fit the neat narrative. Every German agent sent to Britain had been accounted for, caught, turned, or surrendered. Except one. One agent who was never detected, never caught, never turned. The official records are murky here. Some historians believe this missing agent simply never existed, a clerical error, a miscount. Others aren't so sure. Because here's the thing, the only reason we know about this gap in the records is because of what happened to him. He killed himself. Before he could transmit a single report, before MI5 even knew he existed, he ended it. Somewhere in Britain, in the early years of the war, a German spy died by his own hand. His mission failed. His identity lost to history. Was he real? Did he panic? Was he afraid of capture? We'll never know. The double-cross system was that good, so thorough that even their one failure might have been a success, because the enemy never heard from him again. But the agents who did talk? They changed the course of the war. 1944. Hitler's revenge weapon, the V1 flying bomb, rains down on London. Thousands of civilians dead. The city is bleeding. But what if I told you? The British made it worse. On purpose. Enter the double agents, though not Eddie Chapman as some stories claim. Chapman was busy with other deceptions. No, this was a separate operation, using other turned spies in the network. Their mission: convince the Germans their bombs were hitting dead center. The agents radioed back detailed damage reports. Central London, hit. Westminster, destroyed. The Houses of Parliament, direct strike. All lies. In reality, those same bombs were falling short, missing by kilometers, crashing into empty fields, Kent countryside, the Thames estuary, harmless, useless. But Berlin believed their agents. Why correct the aim when you're already succeeding? The Germans kept their settings unchanged, and for the rest of the war, those V1s kept undershooting, killing cows instead of civilians, destroying barns instead of bridges. Historians estimate this deception saved thousands of lives, maybe tens of thousands, all because the British had the audacity to tell the enemy, yes, keep doing exactly what you're doing. Brutal, brilliant, and absolutely true. April 30th, 1943. A British submarine surfaces in the dead of night off the coast of Spain. A body is pushed into the waves. Military uniform. Briefcase handcuffed to the wrist. Top secret documents inside. The corpse is fake. The documents are fake. The identity is fake. The consequences? Very, very real. Meet Operation Mincemeat, quite possibly the most successful deception in military history. The body was Major William Martin, a Royal Marine who never existed, complete with love letters, theatre tickets, and a photograph of a fictional girlfriend. The documents? Detailed invasion plans for Greece and Sardinia. The Spanish found the body. The Spanish, neutral but Axis-friendly, shared the documents with German intelligence. German intelligence shared them with Hitler himself, and Hitler bought it completely. While the Allies prepared to invade Sicily, the actual target, Hitler moved entire divisions to Greece and Sardinia. Tanks, artillery, the best of the Wehrmacht, sitting in the wrong place, waiting for an invasion that would never come. When the real invasion hit Sicily in July 1943, the defenses were shattered. The island fell in 38 days. The Italian government collapsed. Mussolini was arrested. All because of a dead man with a fake name floating in the Mediterranean. The body? It was a Welsh tramp who died of pneumonia. The identity? Invented by a committee of British intelligence officers, including a future James Bond author. Truth really is stranger than fiction. The atomic bomb ended the war. We all know that. But what almost started it again? Deep in Manchuria, Unit 731, the Japanese Army's Biological Warfare Division, was the stuff of nightmares. Human experimentation, plague bombs, frostbite tests on living prisoners, pure systematic horror. But in 1945, they had one final plan. Not for victory, for vengeance. Operation Cherry Blossoms at night. 5 advanced submarines, the massive I-400 class, aircraft carriers capable of crossing the Pacific undetected, each carrying 3 Siran seaplanes, and each plane loaded with plague-infected fleas. The target, San Diego. September 22nd, 1945. The plan, surface at night, launch kamikaze aircraft, drop biological weapons on the California coast, let plague spread through the population, kill civilians not for military gain, but to terrify America into abandoning the invasion of Japan. It was never about winning. It was about making the Americans hurt so badly they'd negotiate. Then Hiroshima happened. August 6th, Nagasaki, August 9th. Japan surrendered, August 15th. Operation Cherry Blossoms at night was cancelled. Barely. The submarines were in training. The fleas were breeding. 1 month more, and American civilians would have died by the thousands from bubonic plague. The atomic bomb was devastating, but it may have also prevented something even worse. September 2nd, 1945. Japan signs the surrender aboard the USS Missouri. The Second World War is over. Except, not quite. Japan and Russia? They never signed a formal peace treaty. Not in 1945. Not until 1956. And even then, it was a joint declaration, not a full treaty. And it left things complicated. The problem. Islands. The Kuril chain, seized by Soviet forces in the final days of the war. Japan wants them back. Russia says they're Russian territory. The dispute continues today. So was World War II technically still ongoing? Not really. The state of war was formally terminated by the 1951 San Francisco Peace Treaty and the 1956 Joint Declaration. But the absence of a comprehensive peace treaty means, legally speaking, the two nations never fully normalized relations. 70+ years later, Russian and Japanese diplomats still meet to discuss these islands. Still no resolution. The last unresolved territorial dispute of the Second World War still shaping geopolitics in 2026. The war ended in 1945, but in some ways, we're still fighting it. Nazi, It's the word we all use, but here's the thing. They hated it. The official name was the National Socialist German Workers' Party, NSDAP in German. National Socialisten, if you were being formal. They called themselves that, or simply the party. But their enemies in Bavaria had a different name, a mocking name. Nazi, derived from Ignatius, a common Bavarian name used to mean someone simple, clumsy, foolish, a country bumpkin, an insult. Opponents threw Nazi around like a slur, and it stuck, it spread, it crossed borders, entered English, became the global shorthand for everything evil. The irony? The Nazis couldn't stop it. They tried. They preferred National Socialist or NSDAP. But Nazi was punchy, memorable, perfect for headlines and propaganda posters. So they lost control of their own name. The insult their enemies created became the word history remembers them by. Sometimes the smallest victories are the most satisfying. Hans Scharf, German Luftwaffe, chief interrogator. He never tortured anyone. In a war defined by cruelty, Scharf was an anomaly. He didn't beat prisoners, didn't waterboard, didn't deprive them of sleep. Instead, he invited them for walks in the woods, shared coffee, talked about their families. His technique? Be the only friend in a world of isolation. POWs were cut off from everything. News, loved ones, normal conversation. Scharf provided that. He listened. He sympathized. He made them want to talk. And talk they did. American pilots casually mentioned which planes were having mechanical issues. British officers discussed unit morale. Bits and pieces, dropped in conversation, collected and assembled into intelligence gold. The prisoners rarely realized they'd given anything away. They just felt heard, understood, human again, if only for an afternoon. After the war, Scharf's methods were so effective, so revolutionary, that he was invited to lecture in America. The Pentagon, intelligence agencies. The man who interrogated Allied pilots taught the US military how to do it better. Proof that you don't need cruelty to be effective. Just patience, psychology, and a walk in the woods. April 9th, 1940. Germany invades Denmark. The government surrenders in 2 hours. The king remains, but as a figurehead. The Nazis control the country. They never controlled the people. In 1943, Hitler ordered the roundup of Danish Jews. Deportation. The final solution. Scandinavian edition. The Danes said no. Not with guns, though there was resistance. With boats. Hundreds of fishing vessels, yachts, anything that floated. In a nationwide coordinated effort, ordinary Danes smuggled 7,220 Jews across the narrow strait to neutral Sweden. Out of 7,800 Danish Jews, over 90% survived the war. The highest Jewish survival rate in Nazi-occupied Europe, achieved not by military might, but by fishermen, teachers and neighbors who looked at evil and decided, not here, not our people. Denmark fell in ours, but in the ways that mattered, it never fell at all. Coca-Cola was everywhere in 1930s Germany. The real thing. American syrup, German bottling plants, massive popularity. Then the war cut the supply lines. No more syrup, no more Coca-Cola. But Max Keith, head of Coca-Cola's German division, had an idea. Use what was available. Whey, apple pomace, beet sugar, create something new. He called a contest for names. His salesman suggested Fanta, from the German word fantasy, imagination. It stuck. Fanta was born from necessity, from scarcity, from the weird economics of total war. It kept the German bottling plants running. It kept workers employed. And when the war ended, it kept going. Today, Fanta is global. Orange, grape, hundreds of flavors. Born in Nazi Germany, raised in the post-war boom, and completely divorced from its origins. History is strange. Sometimes the darkest periods create things we still enjoy, entirely without irony, decades later. June 23, 1940. Hitler visits occupied Paris. The city is his, the Arc de Triomphe, Napoleon's tomb, the Opera House, the Eiffel Tower. Here's the story. Debated by historians, beloved by Parisians, the French, anticipating this moment, cut the lift cables. If Hitler wanted to reach the summit, he'd have to climb all 1,710 steps. Hitler never climbed. He posed for photos at the base, admired the view from below, conquered France, but, if the story is true, never conquered its most famous landmark. Did the French actually cut the cables? The evidence is thin. It might be post-war mythology, a comforting legend of defiance in defeat, but it's persistent, beloved, part of Parisian identity. And here's the thing, even if it's not true, it should be. Because in a war of occupation and humiliation, the French needed their symbols of resistance, even small ones, even symbolic ones. Hitler took Paris, but the tower remained, standing tall while dictators fell. Some victories don't need bullets. January 27, 1945. Soviet forces enter Auschwitz. The cameras capture the moment. Emaciated prisoners, hollow eyes, the walking dead finally seeing their supposed saviors. But for many, the nightmare wasn't over. It was changing. The Red Army liberated the camps. They also committed mass rape across Eastern Europe. Tens of thousands of women, German, Polish, Jewish survivors, it didn't matter, were assaulted as the army advanced. Some were killed. Many were traumatized all over again, just days or weeks after unimaginable horror. This isn't to diminish the Soviet contribution to victory. They broke the Wehrmacht. They paid in blood, 27 million dead. Their sacrifice was enormous. But liberation is complicated. Victory is messy. And for the women of Europe, 1945 brought freedom and terror in equal measure. Those who made it home often found nothing waiting. Houses destroyed, families dead, possessions stolen. The war ended, but survival continued. Finding food, shelter, proof of identity in a continent of rubble and refugees. The war lasted 6 years. The consequences lasted generations. Auschwitz was staffed by roughly 7,000 SS personnel, doctors, guards, administrators, the machinery of murder, person by person. Only 15% were ever tried, ever convicted, ever faced justice. Rudolf Höss, the commandant, was caught in 1946, hanged at Auschwitz in 1947 on the site of his crimes. A rare case of accountability. The rest, they melted away, changed names, faked papers, blended into post-war Germany, into the economic miracle, into respectable society. Some emigrated, South America, the Middle East, anywhere that asked few questions. Decades later, some were found, extradited, tried in their 80s and 90s, frail old men facing crimes committed in youth. Most were never touched. Justice delayed is justice denied. And for the millions who died in the war, men, women, children, entire families erased across Europe and Asia, justice was mostly denied. We remember the victims. We must also remember that the perpetrators often lived comfortable lives, died in their beds, and took their secrets with them. The Second World War isn't ancient history. It's living memory, just barely. The last veterans are leaving us. The witnesses, the survivors, the ones who were there. What remains are the stories, the operations that fooled dictators, The spies who may or may not have existed. The weapons that were never used. The plans that never launched. The moments where everything hung in the balance. History isn't just dates and battles. It's the human choices, the courage and the cruelty, the Danish fisherman and the interrogator who walked in the woods, the dead man who fooled Hitler, and the living ones who survived to tell the tale. Some of these stories are verified fact. Some, like our mystery suicide spy, live in the gaps between documents, the spaces where history gets interesting. If you want more hidden history, more of the stories they don't teach in school, hit subscribe. Leave a comment. What's the most unbelievable World War II story you've heard? And as always, thanks for watching.